What's up, everybody? You're watching Steel City MotoVlogs. I'm Derek T, your host, and today it is Saturday, February 18th, 2023. It's pretty nippy out, 36 degrees Fahrenheit, that is. But you all already know the deal. I'm rocking my heated gear, my heated jacket, glove liners, my thermal suit, so the cold is not affecting me at all on a day like today. And look at that blue sky. I mean, who can't get out and ride today? I feel sorry for you. Anyway, today's mission is a rather short ride. I'm only going about maybe 15-20 minutes away, but I want to let you all in on another side of my motorcycle journey that I haven't really done a whole lot of video content about, and there's been a reason for that, and I want to jump into that. Over the next several months, you're going to start seeing footage and content that is my motorcycle club journey, which I believe I've mentioned it on the channel, but I haven't really gone deep on it, and I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start allowing you all into my motorcycle club journey. In the summer of 2020, I joined the Free Spirit Motorcycle Club of Pittsburgh. There's the color patch on your screen right there. And let me tell you, there were mistakes made, I think, on both ends at the beginning. Personally, for me, I believe I joined the club entirely too early. I was a relative newcomer to motorcycling in general, and I really didn't know anything about motorcycle clubs and how they operate and what their influence can be and what it sometimes is in the community, along with its relation to other clubs in the group, in the community rather. And so I was really in over my head almost from the get-go, and I didn't even know it. That was probably the mistakes on my end. On the club's end, I think they probably should have realized that I was brand new to the scene and maybe said something to me along the lines of, hey, why don't you come back in about a year or so after you've gained enough experience and after you've become a stronger rider, and then, prospect for the group again. And that might have been uncomfortable. It might have been inconvenient. It may have even hurt my feelings. But the truth is, it was probably the right thing to do anyway. So that's what I mean when I say mistakes were made on both ends when I was right at the beginning of the journey. Some of you might be wondering, well, Derek, why would you go out and join a motorcycle club knowing how new you were to the game? And that's a great question. So glad you asked. One of the biggest pull factors, one of the factors that really drew me in, was the fact that people who I was really close to, that I was already riding with outside of the group, invited me to the group. And so because they were already there, I went on and joined the club. And that might be a classic example of, well, if everybody jumped off of a bridge, would you do it too? And I guess I jumped off the bridge, but I landed in a motorcycle club. And the funny thing is, the people who invited me to the club are no longer in the club. Don't even ride anymore, which I think is hilarious. But I'm still a part of the group. Here we are 3 years later, and not only am I still in the club, but I actually am an officer in the club. I'm the club's business manager now too. And so things have really progressed quite a bit over those years, and I just want to reflect back on those years a little bit and also let you know kind of where we're going in the future as well. Now, if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time at all, you know I've made several statements about preferring to ride solo more so than riding in a group. And that's still true. That still holds true. But now my reasoning for it is just a little different than it used to be. There's part of me that's always going to prefer to be on my own. It's just the person that I am. I'm a natural introvert. So I'm just as comfortable in my own skin as I am in a large group of people. I have no problem at all hopping on the bike and riding for hours and hours on end, just me alone with my thoughts. And part of me will always be that way. Some of my club brothers get on my case about that, about being a loner. But it's not personal. It's just that's the kind of person I am. However, I have come to learn to enjoy riding with my friends and riding with my club brothers as well. One of the things that kind of turned me off from it at the beginning was when I joined the group, and I told you there were mistakes made on both ends. There was mistakes made definitely on my end, but the club, I believe, made some mistakes too, because when you ride in a group, the one thing that I've learned over all these years is that the club should, or the group should, ride to the skill set of the most inexperienced rider. The concept is the same when you talk about a chain being only as strong as its weakest link. It's not necessarily that that person is a weakling, but when you have a person in your group who is inexperienced, you ride to that person's capability to keep that person and the group safe. I didn't feel like starting out that was taken into consideration. I didn't feel like my safety was a priority, and I didn't feel like the group was riding to what my skill set was, limited as it may have been. In those early days and in those early rides that I took with the group, I really didn't feel safe at all. As a matter of fact, I was downright spooked out a couple times, but I also had a lot of trouble keeping up with the group because of that, because they were really pushing hard. And they had learned how to ride together, and that's one thing. They were riding together the way that they were used to riding together. And so there was an element of, if I'm going to be in this group, this is what I was thinking. If I'm going to be in this group, I'm going to have to elevate myself to this level of riding. You know, we're pushing 85, 90, and sometimes above as a group. And I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm really having trouble keeping up, and sometimes I would just downright fall behind. And when I say behind, I mean far behind sometimes, just because I wasn't used to riding like that. The thinking behind it was, oh, Derek, we just need to stretch you out of your comfort zone. That's all. And when you're in the thick of it and not really understanding the totality of the picture, it's hard to disagree with that, because there was a point where I did feel like maybe I just need to stretch a little bit outside of what I'm comfortable doing, because that's the way that you grow. But now, as an experienced rider with 8 or 9 states under my belt now, and some touring and some camping and, you know, just some daily riding experience, I'm a whole lot more advanced than I was back in those days. And now, looking back at it, there's a fine line between being stretched outside of your comfort zone and downright being put in danger. And when I look back on those days, I wasn't being stretched outside of my comfort zone. It was like comfort zone, cross that line into uncomfortable, and then cross that line into the danger zone. And that's where I felt like I was riding every time I rode with the club. And so that farther kind of fueled my desire to just kind of be on my own. So I guess if I were to fast forward until today, things are so different now not just based on the accumulated riding experience, but also in the complexion of the group and the makeup of the group now. The group that I joined 3 years ago is not the group that it is today. And what I mean by that is there have been a lot of changes, a lot of people have come in new behind me, and some people who were there before me have either retired from the group or just went on, who moved on and did something else. It's not even, for me to start divulging why different members left the club or whatever the case is. And the purpose of this video is not to air the club's dirty laundry at all. But fast forwarding to today, the one thing that I really, really, really appreciate about the group is I have friendships. It's a brotherhood, and I know it's a connection that I know for a fact that any one of these guys would be there for me when I need them to be there for me. And I know this because they've already rescued me one time. And actually that's on one of my videos. I had an electrical problem with my bike, and the bike died on me and had me stranded on the side of a road somewhere, and it was my Free Spirit brothers who came to my rescue that day. And so I know for a fact that I have a brotherhood and a relationship with my brothers in the club who would be there for me, and I would be there for them, hands down, no questions asked. There have been some changes that we've gone through, and one of the things that I discovered, and I'm going to be as diplomatic as I possibly can, but one of the things that I discovered that from the early point until today, I was blaming the club for something that really wasn't the club doing, in terms of how I felt about my safety, in terms of how I felt the club was riding and everything else. One of the things that I discovered was it was more about the behavior of an individual than it was the behavior of the club. And that's where you kind of have to be very, very careful when you represent something that's bigger than yourself. Sometimes you can misrepresent the whole big picture and not just misrepresent yourself. And so I learned that, the individual, there was an individual who, by his choices and by the way that he handled things, it left a bad taste in a lot of mouths about the larger picture. But now there's been a course correction, and the relationship, the smoothness of not just the relationships and the meetings and the way that we relate to each other, but also the way that we interact with each other on the road, and the way that we ride together and have gelled together as a group on the road has been nothing short of amazing. So we've walked through some little rocky parts and everything else, but any relationship is going to have that. And I'm really glad that I stuck it out and didn't quit. And now I'm a part of something that's larger than myself, who we have plans to do some really big things this year, and I'm really, really looking forward to. So that's the point of this ride today. I'm actually on my way to meet with my brothers so that we can discuss some club business, so that we can get out there on the road coming up in the spring. We are going to be, I know for a fact, at the National Biker Roundup in August, from August 1st to August 6th. We'll be there in Memphis, Tennessee. So if you're around that area and you'd like to meet up with me, hey, let's do it. I'll be there. I'm going to get going for now, but stay tuned, because there's going to be more coming at you about the motorcycle club journey coming up. You're watching Steel City MotoVlogs. I'm Derek T. You all take care until the next adventure.